Like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. This is Kindness Diaries, where small moments create big lessons. The morning had been carefully planned, just like every other part of her life. Victoria Hale, billionaire tech founder and media favorite, stepped out of the glass doors of her downtown office building. Her assistant trailed behind, listing appointments, meetings, numbers. Cameras flashed from across the street. Victoria barely noticed. She was used to being watched. She was used to being admired. Her Bentley waited at the curb, spotless and shining. The driver opened the door, and Victoria adjusted her coat, already thinking about the next deal. To her, time was money, and money was everything. The voice was calm but hesitant. Victoria paused, annoyed, and turned slightly. A man stood a few feet away, holding the hand of a little girl. He looked tired. Not lazy tired, but life tired. His jacket was worn. His shoes were scuffed. The girl clutched a small backpack and looked up at her father with wide. Victoria sighed. "Yes," she said, checking her watch. The man swallowed. "I just wanted to ask you something." Her assistant stepped forward, ready to shut it down, but Victoria raised a hand. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the way the man wasn't asking for money. Maybe it was the way he stood straight, even though life clearly hadn't been gentle with him. "What is it?" she asked. The man looked down at his daughter, then back at Victoria. "Do you think success means never having time for people who can't give you anything back?" The question landed like a weight on her chest. For a moment, the street noise faded. The flashing cameras blurred. Victoria felt something uncomfortable rise inside her, something she usually buried under contracts and headlines. "I don't understand," she said sharply. The man nodded. "I didn't think you would. My name's Daniel. This is my daughter, Lily." Daniel continued, "I used to work in finance. Long hours. Big dreams. Then my wife got sick. I missed meetings to take her to treatments. Missed deadlines. Lost my job. She passed away last year." Victoria felt a strange tightness in her throat. "I clean offices now," Daniel said quietly. "Including yours. Night shift. I see your name everywhere. Awards. Interviews. They say you started with nothing." Victoria stiffened. "I did." Daniel smiled faintly. "So did I. I guess my question is, when did nothing stop including people?" The words hit harder than any insult ever had. Victoria opened her mouth, then closed it. No one spoke to her like this. No one dared. "I'm not blaming you," Daniel added quickly. My daughter asked me this morning why some people have everything, and others can barely keep going. I didn't know what to tell her." Victoria looked at the child. Really looked. Not as a distraction, not as an inconvenience, but as a human being. She thought of her own childhood, alone in a small apartment, her parents working non-stop, never home. She remembered promising herself she'd never be powerless again. Somewhere along the way, she had mistaken power for distance. "I didn't know," Victoria said softly. It surprised everyone, including herself. She stepped away from the Bentley. The driver blinked. The assistant froze. "What's your shift tonight?" Victoria asked Daniel. 10 to 6, he replied. "And your daughter?" "She stays with a neighbor when I can afford it. Otherwise, she waits with me until my sister wakes up." She reached into her coat, then stopped. Instead of pulling out cash, she did something far more unexpected. "Daniel," she said, "would you come by my office tomorrow morning? Bring Lily. 8 o'clock. His eyes widened. I don't want charity." "This isn't charity," Victoria said. "This is time. And listening. I owe you that." The next morning, Daniel and Lily sat in a conference room overlooking the city. Victoria arrived without cameras, without assistants. She listened. She asked questions. She learned that Daniel had ideas, smart ones. She learned Lily loved drawing. She learned how close people could come to the edge without anyone noticing. By the end of the week, Daniel had a job, not as a cleaner, but as a junior analyst with flexible hours. Lily was enrolled in an after-school program sponsored by Victoria's company. But the biggest change wasn't in Daniel's life. She started leaving her office earlier. She learned names. She funded programs quietly, without press. And every time she stepped into that Bentley, she remembered the question that stopped her cold. Do you think success means never having time for people who can't give you anything back? Kindness doesn't always look powerful. It doesn't make headlines. Sometimes, it's just a question asked at the right moment. And sometimes, that's enough to change everything. If this story moved you, let it remind you that kindness is never wasted. A few seconds. A little attention. A warm heart. You never know whose life, and whose future, you might change. Spread kindness. The world needs it now more than ever.